Hello everyone, welcome to another video lecture in the series for class 10th NCERT series. Today we are going to study the poem A Tiger in the Zoo. Now this poem is a contrast between the tiger in the zoo and the tiger in the jungle. Okay, so this poem is going to show us how a tiger is in the zoo. When the tiger is in the zoo, how he reacts, how he is trying to survive, and when he is in the jungle, he is completely different. Okay, so we are going to see that contrast. How are we going to see that contrast? In different stanzas. ठीक है, you can easily identify कि कौन से stanza में tiger zoo में है and कौन से stanza में tiger jungle में है. Okay, so let's start with the poem. This poem contrasts a tiger in the zoo with the tiger in its natural habitat, which is the jungle. The poem moves from the zoo to the jungle and back again to the zoo. Now, let's try to see which one is the zoo and which one is the jungle. He stalks in his vivid stripes. Now, vivid, the word vivid. Vivid means very strong, very bright. No? Because as you must have seen, as you can see in this picture, the stripes, they look very powerful. Well, the whole aura of the tiger is powerful, but the stripes, they are very vivid, very strong. The few steps of his cage, because his cage is very small, right? It's nothing compared to the zoo, nothing compared to the jungle. Jungle is, there is no limit. ना वो कहीं तक भी जा सकता है, कितना भी दूर जा सकता है जंगल में. जंगल बहुत बड़ा होता है, but the cage comparatively बहुत छोटा होता है. So a few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. On pads of velvet quiet. Now his pads of velvet. What are the pads of velvet? Pads of velvet are his paws, because paws, of course, tiger has fur like other animals. Tiger का भी fur होता है, तो उसके जो paws हैं, they are like pads of velvet, ठीक है, because उसमें भी fur होता है. Quiet, in his quiet rage. Now the tiger is very angry, ठीक है, he is extremely angry because he doesn't want to be in a cage. Of course, no animal wants to be in a cage, but he has to be there because he is helpless. He cannot go anywhere, he cannot break those bars and get out. So he is very angry, but he is helpless, so he cannot do anything about that. That's why quiet. He is quiet, but still he is angry, but he cannot do anything. That's why he is quiet. Okay? So here the tiger is in the zoo, okay, in a cage. Then he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass. Now what a tiger is supposed to do? Where he is supposed to be? He is supposed to be in a jungle, out there in a forest, out in the open. So he should be lurking in shadow. He should be hiding in the shadow, sliding through long grass. जो long grass होती है उसमें से he hides there, ना? And because he is there looking for his prey, he doesn't want his prey to know that he is there. Near the water hole where plump deer pass. And he is near that water hole जहाँ पे सारे animals पानी पीने के लिए आते हैं. So it would be easier for him to catch them. So in this stanza, he is supposed to be in a jungle. Then he should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge. Now we are still in the jungle. Okay, what should he be doing? He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge. Jungle के edge पे जो villages हैं छोटे छोटे, ठीक है. He should be terrorizing those villages, right? He should be snarling around houses. Snarling मतलब growl करना, teeth show करके aggressively growl करना. Bearing his white fang. What are fangs? Fangs ये जो दो अलग से teeth जो होते हैं, जो दिखते हैं ना, fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. So that's what he is supposed to do. He is supposed to terrorize the village. But he is locked in a concrete cell. But instead he is locked there in a concrete cell जहाँ से वो बाहर नहीं निकल सकता. He cannot overpower the cell. His strength behind bars. All his strength, it is behind those bars. ठीक है? He cannot break those bars and go out. Stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Now he is not at all interested in who is coming to see him or who is admiring him. He is not interested in that. Okay, he is trapped there and he doesn't want to be there. Okay, so he is angry and he is stalking the length of his cage because it's really small. So जितना चल सकता है उतना चल रहा है. Okay, and then he is ignoring visitors. He doesn't want to look at the people who are coming there to see him, or maybe to people who are admiring him. He doesn't want all that. He hears the last voice at night. Now here and here, we are in the zoo, in a cage. He hears the last voice at night. Okay, see, he cannot sleep because of course he is not comfortable there. He misses home, which is jungle, and that's why he cannot sleep properly. So he can hear the last voice at night, the last person who is awake, who made a single noise. He can still hear that because he is still awake. The patrolling cars, they are patrolling cars, जो पुलिस की जो cars होती हैं, वो सारी जो पेट्रोलिंग के लिए होती है रात में, he can hear that and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars, and he is staring those at those brilliant stars जो आसमान में उसको दिखाई दे रहे हैं, because maybe that's the only thing that is the same, that remains the same for him in the jungle and in the zoo, because everything else has been changed for him, right? It's the stars, the sky and the stars, they are the same. जैसे कि वो जंगल में थे वैसे ही वो zoo में है. ठीक है, so he is looking at those stars and he is wondering whether he would be able to go back to the jungle. कभी वो वापस जा पाएगा, and what life, the great life that he had in the jungle. Okay, so that's the poem, everyone. Leslie Norris, a poem by Leslie Norris. Now let's look at the rhyme scheme and the poetic devices. So the rhyme scheme is A, B, C, B, A, B, C, B and so on. See, stripes A, ठीक है, cage B, rage, cage, rage B, C. So A, B, C, B. Okay, stripes, cage, quiet, rage. Stripes or quiet, they are not rhyming with any other word, any other line, and cage and rage, they both rhyme. ठीक है, so that's your rhyme scheme. ऐसे ही बाकी सारे stanzas में से भी same है. Shadow, ठीक है, grass, hole, pass. ठीक है, same rhyme scheme. Now let's look at the poetic devices. Personification. So throughout the poem, in the whole poem, tiger has been personified. As you must have noticed, I was also using he, right? Because in the poem, tiger has been personified. He use हुआ है सब जगह उसके लिए. ठीक है, being an animal, it use होना चाहिए था, but he use हुआ है, that's personification. Then we have metaphor. Pads of velvet, that's your metaphor. उसके paws को क्या बोला है? Pads of velvet बोला है. जो furry paws है उसको क्या बोला है? Pads of velvet बोला है. So that's your metaphor. Then we have enjambment. Enjambment, what is enjambment? Continuation of one line to the other without any punctuation mark. ठीक है, जैसे कि sliding through long grass near the water hole where plum deer pass, no punctuation mark, right? So that's your enjambment there. Then we have imagery. Imagery, what is imagery? Imagery is when you read a text, when you read a poem and you can imagine it. There is a picture in your brain as soon as you read the text. That's your imagery. ठीक है, so when we read all these lines, there is an image in our brain, like this tiger and he is trapped inside a cage, and then the tiger is in the jungle. He is trying, you know, snarling around houses or maybe lurking in shadow. वो deer जो हैं, वो जो fat deers है जो वहाँ पे पानी पी रहे हैं, है ना, उनको वहाँ पे उसका शिकार करना है. So he is there quietly sitting there, right? So we can imagine all that, right? So that's your imagery. Then we have assonance and consonance. चलो एक ही लाइन में दोनों ले लेते हैं, assonance and consonance. Now assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds. ठीक है, so see, bearing his, white, his. The I sound is being repeated. Bearing his, white, his. I sound repeat हो रहा है, right? That's your vowel. So that's your assonance. And then we have consonants. His, fangs, his, claws, S sound repeat हो रहा है. Snarling around houses, यहाँ पे भी S sound repeat हो रहा है, so that's your consonants there. ठीक है. Then we have oxymoron. Now what is oxymoron? जब दो एकदम completely opposite words are used together and they give a different meaning. For example, quiet, rage. Now quiet and rage, they both are completely different, right? Quiet मतलब शांत, rage मतलब गुस्सा. But यहाँ पे साथ में use होके they are giving us a different meaning. Okay, so that's your oxymoron. ठीक है. यहाँ quiet, rage में क्या use हुआ है? Oxymoron use हुआ है. Then we have onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia, what is onomatopoeia? Onomatopoeia is the sounds. ठीक है. जैसे कि snarling around houses. Snarling. ठीक है. Snarling हो गया. So that's your onomatopoeia when you describe any sound. ठीक है, with using words. That's your onomatopoeia. Then we have repetition. Repetition क्या है? ये these. The word is being repeated. पूरा का पूरा जब word ही repeat हो जाएगा, ठीक है, that's your repetition. ठीक है. So these were your poetic devices. Then let's look at the question answer, the NCERT solutions. वो भी कर लेते हैं. Question number 1 is read the poem again and work in pairs or groups to do the following tasks. अच्छा, now find the words that describe the movements and actions of the tiger in the cage and in the wild. Arrange them in the 2 columns. अब देखो, what we have to do is हमको movement और action show करना है tiger का cage में, ठीक है, और jungle में, है ना, दोनों को अलग अलग describe करना है. ठीक है. तो केज में तो हम लोग क्या क्या वर्ड्स देख सकते हैं, जैसे स्टॉक्स, है ना, फिर फ्यू स्टेप्स ऑफ हिज केज. ऑफ कोर्स अब केज वर्ड ही आ गया, सो दैट मींस ही इज इन द केज. देन क्वाइट रेज, लॉक्ड इन कंक्रीट सेल, स्टॉकिंग द लेंथ ऑफ हिज केज, इग्नोरिंग विजिटर्स, स्टेयर्स विद हिज ब्रिलियंट आईज एट द ब्रिलियंट स्टार. ये सब हमें केज के लिए यूज किए हैं सारे वर्ड, बिकॉज ही इज इन द केज. देन अबाउट द वाइल्ड, लर्किंग इन द शैडो, sliding through long grass, snarling around houses, bearing his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. All these are in the wild. ठीक है, that was the first one. Let's look at the second one. Find the words that describe the 2 places and arrange them in 2 columns. Now try to share ideas about how the poet uses these words and images to contrast the 2 situations. Okay. So of course these 2 situations are completely different. If he is in the cage and if he is in the wild, both the situations are completely opposite to each other. ठीक है. जैसे कि cage, few steps off his cage, ठीक है, locked, concrete cell, behind bars, visitors, ये सारी चीजें हमें बता रही हैं कि that he is in the cage. अब इसका एकदम opposite अगर हमें बताना है तो we'll use the words like shadow, ठीक है, water hole, long grass, plum deer, houses at the jungle's edge, ना, village. All these are things that are outside. ठीक है, जो कि वहां पे बाहर है, केज के बाहर है, मतलब जू के बाहर है ऑब्वियसली, है ना, वाइल्ड में है. ठीक है. सो दीज आर योर वर्ड्स दैट डिस्क्राइब डिफरेंट थिंग्स. One describe few words that describe the cage and the others they describe the jungle. Now next is notice the use of a word repeated in the lines such as these: on pads of velvet, quiet in his quiet rage, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. What do you think is the effect of the repetition? So see, whenever a poet is repeating words, he is trying to put emphasis on it, emphasis on how important that is or how crucial that word is there. ठीक है, जैसे on pads of velvet quiet, यहाँ पे जब हमने 2 बार quiet use किया है, that means the word quiet is very different, very important. Why is it important? Because all his strength, all the tiger's strength, the tiger has his strength, ठीक है, and that's the most important thing about him, his strength, right? But there it's useless because he is not stronger than the bars. Okay. So that's why the word quiet has been used twice to show how angry he is, but he cannot do anything about that, so he has to stay quiet. That's why the word has been repeated. And stares at with this brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. अभी brilliant दो बार use हुआ है, ठीक है. So for that, similarly, the use of the term brilliant for both the tiger's eyes and the stars also portrays the majestic nature. उसका majestic nature show कर रहा है, how beautiful, how majestic a tiger is. Okay, whenever we see him, his aura, it's so strong, so beautiful. When you see him in his natural habitat, we don't even dare to go near him, without any precaution, without any protection, right? So, but when he is in a cage, when he is in a zoo, we very easily go near him because we know that he cannot come outside, right? So, we know that how majestic he is by nature if he is in his natural habitat, and that's what he is trying to remember. That's why the word brilliant has been used, because we know that if he were in the jungle, then we won't even dare to go near him. Then we have the tiger stares at the brilliant stars with his brilliant eyes, dreaming about how beautiful his life could be in the forest. ठीक है, वो यही सोच रहा है कि अगर मैं forest में होता अभी तो things would have been completely different. Okay, and the repetition thus gives a wonderful effect to the poem. Okay. So, these were the NCERT solutions. I gave you the rhyme scheme, the poetic devices, I gave you the explanation. I hope you understood the poem, and we'll meet in our next lecture. Thank you.